Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Man, I'm so glad that you all decided to come and join us on the first Sunday of the new year. And I just want to take a little bit of a New Year's Eve poll to kind of get us started. All right, how many of you all, give me a holler if you were able to stay awake until midnight on New Year's Eve? All right, a pretty good number of people. That's good. That makes the rest of the poll possible, okay? All right, well, how many of you couples out there celebrated with a New Year's Eve kiss? All right, still a pretty good number. How about celebrating with a New Year's Eve selfie? How many of you took a New Year's Eve selfie of some kind? Not nearly as many. That's a little bit, I guess I could see that though. All right, but we do live in a selfie world, and I don't know about you, but I saw a lot of New Year's Eve selfies on social media. In fact, I think that's just kind of something that people do a lot. It's just one of those things that it's become a part of our culture. You know, and we all take selfies from time to time. I know there are a few of you who have never taken one, but that's on the rare side these days, especially for those of your spouses who make you take one. You're like, you're going to take this selfie with me, all right? But some people take selfies more than others, though, right? Take Kim Kardashian, for example. All right, this girl's taking selfies all the time. In fact, I saw in an article in Us magazine that she actually took 6,000 selfies on a 4-day vacation. That's 1,500 selfies a day. And I don't know what else she was doing on that vacation, but she was definitely taking a lot of pictures of herself, all right? That's a lot. They actually predict that the average millennial will take about 25,000 selfies in their lifetime. And so that's just kind of tells you the world that we live in. And you know how selfies are, right? They're just like any pictures that we used to take before, all right? You want them to be exactly just right. But you have a lot more control now. They're on your phone, and so you take it from that perfect angle to hide your gut or your double chin, and if it doesn't look good, you just delete it, right? Well, not every selfie goes according to plan, and I've got a little bit of a video here to kind of give you an idea of some of those selfies that don't quite work out.
Crazy. Tinker. Why would you puke on my ear?
I'm ready. We're going to do a little selfie video. Good Lord. See ya. Bye. Peace.
Those are pretty good, huh? I don't know why they posted those things, but I'm glad they did. All right. A lot of times selfies don't go exactly how we plan, but the thing is they actually can be kind of dangerous too. In 2015, did you know Disney actually banned selfie sticks? It's because they were causing a lot of problems. People were getting into accidents, they were running into things, they were falling, they were actually using them on rides. If you're not allowed to put your hands and your arms outside the cart, I don't think you're allowed to have a selfie stick go out of it. But people were doing it, and so they just had to ban them altogether. If that isn't bad enough, there were actually over 250 people who died by selfie in the last year. Can you believe that? And it's because they just weren't paying attention. And I read of a couple that fell off a cliff, and someone who got hit by a vehicle. And if you really think about the statistics of that, the chances of that are really unlikely, though. So don't feel like you need to be afraid of taking selfies as far as for your life's sake. Consider Kim Kardashian. She's been taking 1,500 every single day, and she's still here with us. So we don't have to worry about that, I think, too much. All right, but the thing is that the selfie has become a huge part of our culture today. And I think we have to ask the question, well, why is that? Why do we take so many selfies today in our culture? Is it really just because it's easier to take pictures of ourselves now because we have cameras on our phones? Is that really the only reason? Is it because we've become a lot more in tune to our journeys and we want to document our lives and be able to keep track of what's going on and all that sort of thing? Is it really just because we have social media? And so now you're able to post these pictures and there are other people who will like them or dislike them and things like that. Or is it because we've become consumed with ourselves? And I think we have to ask those questions. I actually heard someone say the reason why we call it a selfie is because we don't know how to spell narcissism. I mean, you laugh, but it's got to make you think, though. I mean, because we live in a selfie world and we have a selfie state of mind. It's just kind of the way we are. We think about ourselves a lot. I mean, think about all the advertisements that are out there. All the advertisements are tailored to you. All right? My product is going to make you better, so you should buy it. All right? If you buy my product, well, then you're going to be better looking. You're going to be more successful. Life is going to be better if you get on board with us. And that's just kind of the way it is. And the new year is really kind of the heightened time of this. All right? It's when we're all kind of trying to figure out how can we get it together. We do those New Year's resolutions, right? Most people do that. Not everybody. There are those who are like, I'm not doing a New Year's resolution. I always try to improve myself. But for the most part, a lot of people do. They reflect and they kind of try to decide, well, how can I get better this year? How can we make 2019 the best year ever? And oftentimes we start to take selfies. All right, we start to really try to figure out ourselves and what are the goals that I can have for myself to make myself better. And so we take a physical selfie. You know, this is the time when the gym memberships are soaring. All right, I know my wife and I are doing it. All right, we've been working out the last 2 days, and man, it's really been kicking my butt. I'm telling you, I'm sore here, everywhere. I mean, I'm just sore because we just haven't done it in so long. Well, we'll see how it lasts because statistically speaking, you know what happens to those gym memberships that happen at the beginning of the year. I mean, come the end of January, middle of February, most of those people are gone. So hopefully we're going to make it. Right, sweetie? All right. So, you know, we also, when we do that, we realize we need to lose some pounds, and we know that exercise is part of that, but we look at diet as well. Well, what am I eating that's causing me to gain weight or stay flabby? How can I cut some things out of my diet? And, you know, that's really tough because it's kind of fad-like. You just don't really know what the science really is, and we hope we're improving. But I know that it used to be, don't eat any fat. Avoid all fats, and you'll lose weight. Well, now they're saying, well, make sure you eat the good fats, whatever those are. You know, eat the good fats, and that's actually going to help you lose weight. And so you're like, all right, well, it used to be don't eat margarine, or it used to be don't eat butter, but eat margarine. Now it's, if you're going to eat it, eat butter. And so there's all these like conflicting things. And so you just try to do the best you can, and you make a decision. And what I find is that if you make a lifestyle choice, it quite often works. But if you just do a diet for a period of time, you quite often earn all that weight back and then some, right? And so that's just kind of how it goes when you take that physical selfie. Well, we also take a financial selfie. We kind of, at the beginning of the year, we often have to look at our budgets or lack thereof, and we have to kind of be like, all right, well, how can I improve financially? How can I start to save a little bit more than I spent? Because I just spent too much on Christmas. I might be in a little bit of debt because of that, and maybe some other things that happened throughout the year. How can I reduce that debt, and how can I start to save a little bit? Maybe if I save enough, I might actually be able to retire someday. And so we do this financial selfie where we try to figure that out. And then we go from there and we do a personality selfie. We try to think about, well, who am I? We take a deep dive into our psyche and we try to understand why do we do the things that we do and what is it that makes me tick? And maybe if I understand myself, I can have a better year. Did you know there are 2,500 different personality tests that are available to you today? All right, 2,500 different ones. You got the Myers-Briggs, the DISC, StrengthsFinder, the Big Five, and the list goes on and on and on. And I've taken at least 10 of them within the course of my lifetime, so I'm sure many of you have done that as well. And you start to do that, and you start to realize, wait, man, so this is who I am? Oh, man, there's got to be some things that have caused me to be like this, and you start to get a little bit of stress about all these different things that you're supposed to do to make your 2019 the best it can be, and you start to get, you know, maybe some anxiety, and so then you start to take an emotional selfie, and you start to say things like, well, maybe I need to go see a counselor. I need to talk to someone else about this and kind of get them to help bounce some ideas off me and figure out how I can relieve some of the stress that's been caused by all these other selfies that I've been taking. And so they suggest stress balls and, you know, maybe yoga or breathing exercises or who knows what they might suggest, but there's a lot of different things that are there that could come about from that emotional selfie. We also take a spiritual selfie, I think. I think most of us, especially those of us who have a relationship with God, we try to measure up ourselves each year to kind of say, well, how could I improve my relationship with God? And that's kind of why we come to church, right? We come here to be around like-minded people, to worship God together, to learn about God, and hopefully be encouraged to go throughout the rest of the week. But it can quickly become about us. It can become about myself. And if you've ever heard anyone say something like, I really wish the worship team would sing this song. I wish they'd sing that more. We sang this one song 50 years ago, and I haven't heard it, and man, we should sing that one every single Sunday. Or, man, the music is just way too quiet. I wish they would just really amp it up a little bit. Or maybe, no, they should turn it down. Or you know what? I think Pastor Todd should scrap this whole better together thing, and he should be speaking verse by verse out of the Old Testament, or maybe the New Testament, or whatever it might be. And we start to get all these opinions and all these thoughts, and it's okay to have those, but what we have to be careful about is that it's going to quickly become more about us than it is about God or each other or how we actually do this thing with him. There are people who often get into fights about what the carpet color should be or the paint color. And that's really sad, but the fact of the matter is there are churches that have split over carpet color and paint color. Well, why is that? It's because they've lost the focus somewhere around the line where they've decided that it's really more about me than it is about us as a group trying to grow closer to God and about him more than anything. In fact, you can even see this within our own personal time with God. I mean, think about this, all right? Oftentimes, you spend some time with God, and it can quickly become this thing where you're just like checking off the box. Oh, man, I spent my 10 to 15 minutes with God. I'm so glad I get to go through the rest of the day and put God on the sideline, and I'll come back to him tomorrow. And you can kind of gauge that. Now, 10 to 15 minutes, you can get a lot of great time with God in there, all right? And if your focus is right, it can be a really great way to start off your day. But again, it's easy to slip into this idea of it's all about me. And just think about your prayers. This is a pretty good way to kind of gauge this. If you find yourself only praying to God as if he's like a genie, where you're always just asking for things, it's possible that your relationship with him has become really all about you. If you find that the only time you ever pray is when something's going bad in your life, and when everything's going good, you kind of forget about him, you may have kind of slipped into that thing where it's, well, this is really just about me, and you've forgotten that God really wants to have a relationship with you. So the question has to be asked, isn't all the point of this self-reflecting and trying to better ourselves supposed to be about making ourselves better? So why am I, as a pastor, trying to say that it's not about that, or that's bad? I think the thing is that when we do that, we often find ourselves just as alone, as empty as we were before. So I think we do need to ask the question, what's the point? Well, that's exactly what we hope to do in this new series called Better Together that we're starting today. And I'm just so glad that you guys could join us. My name's Perry. I'm one of the pastors here at Beach Church. And I just want to welcome you all. I want to welcome those of you who are watching online or at J. Rubin. I'm super excited that you guys are here today because it really is a great way to kick off the year. And this series, Pastor Todd mentioned it, is based off of a book called Better Together by Rusty George. He's a pastor out of a church in California, in Valencia, California, called Real Life Church. And basically, he decided to write this book because he recognized that we all try to better ourselves. And that's a natural thing. It's a good thing. But even though we have all these resources of self-discovery and self-improvement, we find ourselves wanting, depressed, and alone still. We're one of the most self-aware societies ever, and yet oftentimes when you see and you kind of do some analysis of the data of people's responses, people are alone still. They don't feel good. The depression is super high, and people are just, ugh. And I've been there before, a few times in my life. And I remember when we moved down here, I was riding on this wave of excitement. We were so excited, and not just because we were leaving the frozen tundras of the north and all that snow and all that. All right, the weather's great here. All right, but the reason why we were so excited was because we got to be a part of you. All right, we got to be a part of this church and this community, and we were so excited to see what God was going to do in our lives and how he was going to use us to make an impact here. And so, man, there was a huge high of excitement. And many of you know what that's like because most of us have moved here in the last 5 years or so, all right? Because that's just kind of how Myrtle Beach is. A lot of people move here, and we're from all different places. But as you all know, that wave of excitement does start to die off a little while. And I started to feel off. I didn't know what it was. I knew it wasn't because I wasn't happy to be here. I was still very glad to be a part of this church, a part of the community, everything about it, but something wasn't right. And so I did what a lot of us do. I started to self-reflect. I started to think, well, what are the things that I can do to improve this? How can I get better? Is it something that I'm doing wrong? So I started to set goals. About a year ago, I set a bunch of goals, and I looked at all these different things that I could do and I could accomplish, and I accomplished most of those goals, except for working out. That one I never actually started until this last week. But I really did accomplish a lot of those goals. All right, and so you'd think, well, if I accomplished all these goals and I learned more about myself, well, then I should be feeling better, right? But I wasn't. I still felt off. Just blah. And so the question does have to be asked, what's the point of all this self-discovery? I spent all this time on all these personality assessments and diving into who I am. What's the point of it all? What do I do with all this information? I think we have a few different options that we can choose. Option one, here's who I am, so who is like me? Here's who I am, so who is like me? Well, in all that self-discovery, here's what I've learned about myself. I'm an ENTJ, I'm a lion, I'm a visionary, big picture thinking performer. I have a high D, low S, running about 15 to 20 pounds too heavy, and I need to save about $50,000 every single month in order to be able to retire before I turn 75. All right? But at least I know me, right? But the thing is, who can relate with that? I'm pretty sure I lost you somewhere in the middle and probably got you back together when I was talking about how I needed to lose weight and save more money. I mean, the thing is that sometimes when the more I learn about me, and I start to do that, the more I learn about me, the more I realize I'm not like you. We're not alike. So if I'm trying to find all these people who are just like me, well, good luck. Because the more I learn about me can cause me to feel even more lonely as a result. So maybe it's not option one. Maybe it's option two. All right, here's who I am, so deal with it. All right, I'm a driven achiever, so get on board or get out of the way. Or maybe I'm an introvert, so leave me alone, right? That's kind of the mindset that sometimes we take it. This is the option that decides that all that self-discovery is to benefit everyone I encounter. All right, it's for your benefit so you can know how to act and behave around me. That's that option. Now, I know that neither of these options really sound that good, right? They don't sound like the best options. But let's be honest with ourselves. Think about how you interact with people. A lot of times, these are the options we choose. This is what we're looking for. We want everyone to function the way I do. Well, and if you don't, well, then just adjust to me. I know that's the way my college professors did things, and it works well when you're in a position of power. All right, everybody has to adjust to you, but I can tell you right now, that's not the way marriage works. I've tried that before. She doesn't respond well. I don't know why, but it doesn't work. Self-discovery is good, though. I'm not trying to say it isn't. It leads to personal insight, but it can also lead to social isolation if we don't respond the right way with it. In fact, reading the Bible can actually even add to that pressure, too. Because when you read the Bible, sometimes when you make it about yourself, it can seem like this overwhelming to-do list of all these things that I have to do in order to make God happy. Let me break it down for you a little bit about all the things, just some of them, that we're supposed to do, that I'm supposed to do, and that you're supposed to do. I'm supposed to be the light of the world who goes and tells everybody around me everything that Jesus has taught me. All right? I'm supposed to be kind. I'm supposed to be patient. I'm supposed to love God and love people, which includes my friends and my enemies. I'm supposed to love my spouse, serve her, bounce my eyes, raise good kids, take out the dogs, take out the trash, fix the kitchen sink, all those different... Wait a minute, I have so many different things that I'm supposed to do that I actually add the things on my honey-do list. But the thing is, if you really think about it, that's loving and serving my spouse too. So that's all part of it. So it's no wonder that all these things that I'm supposed to do can get very overwhelming. It can start to feel like so much, and I begin to feel isolated and depressed because I just feel so much pressure to do it all on my own. But if you dig into Scripture, if you dig into the Bible, and you look at the original language, what you're going to find is that this is not how it was intended to be. It was never intended to be a solo act. In fact, if you go to the book of Matthew, all right, in chapter 5, you're going to find Jesus' most famous sermon. It's called the Sermon on the Mount. All right, and if you go down to verse 13, it says, "You are the salt of the earth." You go down to verse 14, and it's going to say, "You are the light of the earth, of the world." All right, so what you see there is that this is, in English, it can seem like something that you're supposed to do or that I'm supposed to do on my own. But in Greek, the original language that was written in, that "you" is actually plural. All right, and Pastor Mike and I were actually talking about this a little while back, where we said that, if the Bible was written with some of our southern language and lingo, it would actually be a little bit more easy to understand. Words like y'all and all y'all. All right, now I get it. I'm not from the South, so that probably sounds kind of funny. All right, for those of us from the North, it'd be like you guys or yous guys or yins. I think that's a Pittsburgh thing or something, right? Yins. All right. So, but if you use some of those phrases, it would become a lot easier for us to understand. For example, go ahead and put that back up there. All right, those verses would read more like this: "All y'all are the salt of the earth. All y'all are the light of the world." And that would actually be a lot more accurate to the Greek that it was originally written in. And so the point of those verses really is that we're on a mission together. All right, we're supposed to be an example together. We make an impact together. And as you go through this most famous sermon by Jesus, you start to see all of these yous that are actually all y'all or y'all. And that's the way it is. And so you go down to verses 43 and 44, you're going to see a passage that's very popular, but I added our southern lingo to it. "All y'all have heard that it was said, 'Love y'all's neighbor and hate y'all's enemy.' But I tell all y'all, love y'all's enemies and pray for those who persecute y'all." Now, every time you guys keep laughing, I feel like you're laughing at the way I say it. All right? The point, I'm trying to make a point here. All right? The point is that Jesus wasn't just speaking to groups of people. He was. But he was also intending this to be a group effort. All right? We love together. We hurt together. We pray together. We celebrate together. It's intended to be a group effort. In fact, one of the few times that Jesus gets really personal about something you and I need to do, if you go down to chapter 10 of Matthew, this is what it says in verse 39. It says, "Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." So maybe it's not about me or you individually. Could it be that the only way to fix me is found in we? Could it be that the only way to fix me is found in we? And there's a reason that Jesus prepared a group of disciples. There's a reason why all of those letters that you read in the Bible from all these great followers of Jesus like Paul and Peter are written to groups of believers in specific areas. The churches that are there, those are groups of people, not individuals. All right? It's because that maybe all this self-discovery isn't so others know how to act and relate to me, but instead so that I can relate to them. Maybe the purpose isn't so that I can find a bunch of other people who are exactly like me, but instead, maybe a third option is better. Here's who I am, so I need you. Here's who I am, so I need you. And Paul, I mentioned him. He's one of the greatest followers of Jesus ever. Made a huge impact on the church as we know it today. He wrote letters to several different churches during the early church period to help them understand what it meant to follow Jesus. And in his first letter to the people of Corinth, called 1 Corinthians, all right, in chapter 12, he talks about this exact same thing. In verse 12, he says, "Just as a body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit, so as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slave or free, we were all given the one Spirit to drink." Next slide, please. All right. Okay, so even so, the body is not made up of one part, but of many. That's how it closes off there. All right, so this is an analogy that Paul actually uses a lot. All right, he uses this idea of a body. It's a great way to explain how we, as followers of Jesus, are supposed to function. All right, one body, many parts. We all have different gifts. We all have different abilities. We all have different functions, and we all have the same goal of following Jesus. Not sporadically doing our own things, kind of on our own, but we're supposed to do it together. And the people he was writing to were really just like us. They were all different. They were just all different people. Some were slaves. Some were free. Some were rich. Some were poor. Some were Jews. Some were Gentiles or not Jews. All right? They were all different ethnicities and had different backgrounds. They all had different personalities. They all had different socio and economic statuses. They all had different struggles, and they all had different gifts. But just like a body, they're supposed to work together. And apparently they had some of the same issues that we have today, this kind of me thinking, this me-centric way of doing things, this selfie state of mind. They either were finding out that they didn't want to be who God made them, or they felt that everyone should be just like them, because in verse 17, Paul says this: if the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you. And the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And anyone who's ever lost the ability to use a body part because of an injury or something worse, or even if it's temporary, you begin to realize how important those things are. I mean, just by working out these last couple days, my knees are hurting because they do have some injuries. And it's like, man, I remember the days when those were functioning the way they're supposed to be. I wish they would be the other way. So you understand that very quickly. In other words, if I'm a visionary, big picture thinker, I need someone who can come alongside me and help me with the details, because otherwise I'm going to overlook those things. I need someone who can help me with the steps to get to that big picture. We're going to be better together if we work together on that project. Or if I'm someone who stresses over every single decision and I just really, get worked up and I'm like, oh man, all the little details have got to be exactly right. And if it doesn't go off well, it's going to be terrible. And if I do that, well, then maybe I need someone who's maybe a little bit more laid back. All right, someone who can kind of roll with the punches a little bit more for me, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult for the people around me to work with me, because I'm going to create a very stressful work environment. You remember the story I was telling you about myself, where I took all that time to do some self-discovery and try to figure some things out about myself. I was trying to do some self-improvement, and in the end, I just didn't feel good. I just still felt off. Well, what I found was I didn't have any close relationships. It's not surprising. I had only been here about a year and a half. I mean, that's to be expected to some extent. Now, I knew a lot of people. I know a lot of you by name. I know parts of your stories, and you know a little bit about me, but I didn't have any real close relationships. And what I found was I thought that was what was I think that's what was making me feel off and just kind of blah. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I need you to be a better me. And I think that you need other people as well to be a better you. Because together, we connect with God better. Together, we heal better. Together, we overcome our fears. We raise our families. We fight temptations. And we bless the world around us better. Because I think the only way to fix me is found in we. The Bible certainly has a lot to say about me. It really does. There's a lot of things that the Bible asks each of us to do individually and what I should do. And in fact, I can't do any of this if I don't make the choice, right? If I stick my heels in the ground, well, then I'm not going anywhere. I can't follow Jesus unless I make the choice. I can't get baptized unless I actually make that choice. I can't use my unique gifts, personalities, passions, and experiences unless I actually choose to do it. And if you haven't done those things, well, it's not super complicated to do those things, but it is a big commitment. It is life-changing. For example, if you haven't decided to follow Jesus yet, well, you can make that decision right now. It's not hard. You just have to decide, well, do you believe Jesus is who he is? All right, do you believe that Jesus, the Son of God, came to earth, lived a perfect life, and died for your sins so you could be made right with God, and that he came back to life 3 days later? Well, if you believe that, you can make the choice to follow him. Like I said, it's not real complicated. All you got to do is say, God, I need this. I know that you sent Jesus to die for me. I know that he came and he died on that cross and he came back to life 3 days later because I've sinned. And without this, I can't be made right with you. That's all you got to do. But you have to make the decision to accept that gift and turn your life around. Because if all you do is just say these words and just say, well, yeah, I believe, you really haven't made the decision to follow him. So it's an easy thing to do, but it's a big commitment. And the same is true when it comes to using your gifts and your personalities and your skills. If you have decided to follow Jesus, but you haven't decided to use any of those unique qualities that you have to benefit the body, well, then you're not benefiting the body. You're just kind of going through the motions. All right? But again, we try to remove those barriers here as much as possible. It's real simple. All you got to do is go online, go to Next Steps or Connect, and sign up to volunteer. There'll be a whole list of different things that you could potentially do, and just click those boxes, and we kind of talk with you and see how can you use your gifts, skills, talents collectively as a body. If tech isn't your thing, just put it on the Connect card. We'll follow up with you. All right? It's not hard, but you have to make the choice. Because the Bible certainly does have a lot to say about me. But the Bible has a lot more to say about we. All right? In fact, there are over 100 passages in the Bible that say, let us. Let us not give up on meeting together. Let us encourage one another. Let us serve one another. Because we really are better together. And we say that a lot here, right? It's kind of part of who we are. In fact, it's part of our way of life to be a connected people. Captivated by Christ, whose changed lives are changing lives. There's a reason why we put to be a connected people at the beginning. Yeah, you can try to do all those other things without being connected, but it just isn't as good. You aren't going to be as effective, and you're not going to feel united together with the body or with Christ without being together. So maybe instead of just saying that we're better together, we need to find a way to be together better. You know, and we truly do believe that, and we hope that that's exactly what we're going to find, more ways that we can be together in the next few weeks. And as Pastor Todd mentioned, one of the main ways that we do this is through our BC groups, our Beach Church groups. All right, and you guys can sign up for that. He already told you, we believe in this so much that we're going to give you a free book, all right, to go along with it. Because we truly believe that if you will get signed up with one of these groups or get plugged in with CR or some of these different ministries, that you will be better together. But you have to do more than just sign up. A lot of people sign up but don't show up. And you have to do more than just show up. You have to actually go to these groups and give a part of yourself. You have to open up. You have to get to know people. And if you do that, you'll be amazed at how those people will rally around you and try to help you be better with them. So hopefully, we will all take that step so we really can find a way to be together better. Let's pray. Father, I just thank you so much for each person who's here. I thank you for their willingness to come and start off this new year right and just get out here and kind of figure out how they can be together better. And Lord, I'm excited about 2019. We had a great year here in our area and in our church, and I can't wait to see what you do in each person's life as we try to rally together to make a huge impact on our community and on our world. Lord, I just ask that you bless them when they make that decision and that you truly show up for them in that moment where they decide to try to be better together. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.